Hi and welcome to Mancave Projects. So today I'm going to be making a bench seat from an old Euro pallet. So I've got an old Euro pallet which I've had for some time. I've also got some spare wood from this particular project in the background, which was a wood cover for the pizza oven and barbecue. So I'm hoping to combine the two and make a half decent bench seat out of it. So this isn't actually a how-to video because I'm literally doing this from scratch. It's more of a let's see what I can achieve with the materials that I've got. Hopefully at the end of the video you'll get a rough idea, if it does work, on how to complete this particular project. Right, so this is the wood I've got to work with. Again, as I said, this is just spare wood that I've had from a project. So we've got a Euro pallet which I think is about 1 metre by 1.2 metres. I've got a couple of offcuts of wood from that particular project, and this is 68 by 95 mil. Don't think that's very relevant to say the truth, just any old blocks of wood will do. I've got one 3 metre length of tongue and groove floorboard which is 18 mil by 119 millimeters, and two 2.4 metre lengths of stud woodwork. So this is used for doing internal walls, and this is 38 mil by 63 millimeters. And obviously we're going to need some fixings as well, so screws. I've got some bolts I think left over from that particular project, so we'll just try and incorporate what we can. So the first job is to split this Euro pallet in two. So I want more for the actual seat than I do for the backrest, and a good point here seems to be where these blocks are located. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut on this side of the block all the way down. I'll end up with two pieces. This piece will be shorter than this piece. Then what I think I'm going to have to do is use our spare block of wood just to cut some pieces off to strengthen this part, because obviously it won't have the block anymore as a support. So I'll get that done. I can't be bothered getting any of the power tools out, so I'm going to be using basic hand tools. So I'll go and get the handsaw and cut those off, see where we go from there. So for this particular job I'm using an old saw, one which is probably coming towards the end of its life. Really don't want to use a decent saw on anything like pallet wood. So we've got our two halves now. This is the seat base. The seat back, as I said before, just going to use this block of wood, cut some offcuts off there and just place them in there, screw them in just to strengthen these back pieces of wood. So with something like this, which is just basic woodwork, we can utilise things like the marking feature on a basic handsaw. So I've marked where we need to cut the block. On these basic handsaws you've got a 90-degree straight edge and a 45-degree straight edge, which is not incredibly accurate, but it's good enough for this type of work. And we just use the back straight edge of the saw itself just to mark off. So when I'm cutting like this, then I like to have a guideline on that side and that side, so I know that I'm cutting straight and I'm also not wandering off at an angle down the wood itself. And if we were cutting 45-degree angle, then that's where this part of the handsaw would come in. So we'll place that on there and just mark up like that. It just means that we don't end up with a big pile of tools all around us, just utilising the ones that we've got. Okay, so now these blocks are in place, The next thing to do is I just want to do an exterior frame just to hold these two parts of the pallet in a position like this, just with a slight angle on the back of the seat. So the dimensions I'm going to follow is just from this cheap plastic chair. So that is going to be our finished height, and then I'm just going to have a look at this angle at the back, maybe replicate that. We'll do a frame for this side, a frame for the other side. I'll show you how that turned out. Right, so this is what I've come up with for the outside of the seat. So we've got a piece of the floorboarding on the base. This is in case it's placed onto grass, that these don't sink into the grass. This is our beam which holds the pallet base in place, and I determined from these dimensions that from the base up to the bottom of the seat is around 40 centimeters, and then we've got a little bit of a side piece on there. So from the bottom of the floorboarding to the top of this rail is 28 centimeters, and then you've got 12 centimeter thickness on the base of the pallet. So that will bring from the base up to the 40 centimeters that we need. So this is placed on there, the pallet will sit on there, that will be the support coming across. The back rest on the pallet will go at a slight angle, so it'll be screwed in there. That will give us the angle of backrest for people to sit on, and then I'm going to use another piece of floorboarding on the top here across for an armrest, and I'm going to extend that piece of floorboarding beyond there, maybe drill a large circular hole in the front, and that will be a cup holder. So that's the kind of idea. Let's see how we go. So I've got to obviously now replicate this for the other side. Oh, the distance here is just basically whatever the width of the piece of pallet you've got going on there. That's basically what that is. Okay, so we've got our two end pieces. The next thing I want to do is to put this armrest in place. I'm just using a scrap piece of wood as an example. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of floorboarding, I'm going to notch out that, which is basically the profile of this end piece of wood, so it slides in, but I don't want to notch it out all the way to here, to the full width, which would be around there. What I want to do with this bit is I want to actually notch that out of here. So basically when that slides in, it'll sit into the notch, and that will hold the back, and then the front will just screw down onto the top of this post. So all I need to do now is measure what that distance is, measure up to there, place the piece of wood on, mark for the notch, and then just notch out maybe about into the wood about 1 centimeter, and then I'll cut this piece of wood to length, which again is going to be oversized because I'm thinking about doing a cup holder at the front, and then I'll cut down there and notch this out, and I'll show you what that looks like when I've done one side, and then obviously I'll repeat that on the other. Right, so this is the basic idea behind this. The notch is cut out of there. I've cut the notch not very well, but I've cut the notch out of the floorboarding, so that goes into there. So I'm now going to put 2 screws in to fasten it here. It's already fastened in at the back because of the notch, and then after that we'll mark out and drill for a cup holder. I might actually put some waterproof wood glue in this joint if I can find some. Right, so I can't find a hole saw anywhere. Well, I had a man look anyway, but I couldn't find one. So what I'm going to do is just draw around this can and then do a series of holes and then break it out that way. Okay, so we've got our two end pieces, and all that I've done here is I've put the hole in for the can and then glued another piece of floorboard underneath, obviously so the can doesn't fall all the way through. I've just clamped that into place, so we'll obviously leave the clamps on until the glue is set, and I've done that on either side. So the next thing to do is to take that, which is our base for the seat, our pallet base, and sit it on top of those two rails, and then screw in just from the outside and fasten that into place. So that's the base in place. Now the only modification I've had to do, I realised that when I channeled this out in order to slide it past this post, the backrest won't actually go in, so I've just had to, just see if you, hold on, let's just see if you can see that. So I've just had to notch that out, so cut that way to take it out on both sides, and then hopefully this backrest or the back part of the pallet will now fit in.